All right. So I know we all know and love Mongoose and Mongo, but I'm sure that you have also heard from both our alums and probably people outside of full stack that Mongo is not the only database out there, and you've probably heard people saying never use Mongo or never use SQL, it's the thing of the past. And so I thought that I would do my tech talk on giving a little background about the differences between SQL and NoSQL databases, and then talk about some reasons that you might choose one or the other for a given project. So first off, just really brief background. Relational, we know things are stored in tables. Came out of like the 1970s from IBM, and then Oracle took it on and really made it a thing. Common databases today that are relational are obviously Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, which is an open source version that's also very similar to MySQL. You also have these sort of phasing out, but still kind of a thing, OLAP databases, which are very similar, except that data is stored in three-dimensional arrays. And then on the other side of this, you have NoSQL databases. So starting in like the early 2000s, mostly, this is where this movement came out of. Companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook had so much data. And they were like, we think maybe there's a different way to do this. So they started creating different formats for databases. You have key values databases, which are essentially, you have a key which you can hash and find your value. I have some examples. Whoop, never mind. Oh, there they are. So I'm going to give some examples that are, they're certainly not the only examples of these, but these are some common databases that use this. So Redis and Amazon SimpleDB both use key value structure. Column family is also really similar in that you are hashing keys to values, but instead of one value, you're hashing to a whole family of columns. Common column family databases are Cassandra and HBase. You have document databases, which is what we work with in Mongo. So you have whatever you want put into a document. You can embed more documents. You can embed data. Basically, put whatever you want in there. Go down as far as you want into the rabbit hole. CouchDB is another common document-based database. And graph databases, which are sort of this weird niche market that is used for really, really big complex data, in which you have a node that can have properties on it, and then you have edges which connect your nodes. And graph databases, they have their own special query languages, and not that many people use them, but it can be really good for graphical analytics. So why do I have a thing up there? Relational data management systems, which is what SQL databases are. Lots of people really, really love these databases. They've been around for a long time. Some big pros of that is their structure can be really helpful because it allows you to organize your data structurally, makes it easy to join tables, search through it, because you know where everything is. It employs a lot of built-in error checking. It enforces relationships. If you try to add something to the database with a foreign key that doesn't exist, it's not going to let you do that. Mongoose also supports this. So it's obviously not only relational databases that do this, but they do it very well. You end up with reduced duplications. If you have join tables instead of embedding your data into a document, you only have to store it in one place. So the different rows can use the same value across tables without having to put it into each one. And that also means that if you want to update it, you only have to change it in one place. We employ this kind of feature when we use foreign IDs, but it's not really a built-in piece of a document-based database. We're sort of borrowing it from a relational database when we use our foreign object IDs. Fast joins. This is really the big piece that relational databases are good at. If you are trying to cross-reference and grab things from different tables, you get things that are cross-indexed. It basically stores not only what the foreign key is, but where it is in memory, and so it's very fast to go and grab it. And it will optimize your queries. You put in join this table to this table to this table to this table, and it can actually go through and figure out the, not always the best, but generally very fast way to grab the least amount of data possible instead of just arbitrarily going through in the order that you've joined your tables. Because it's been around for such a long time, there's a lot of support, a lot of documentation, a lot of other people have probably already solved your problem, and you can find it on Stack Overflow. Similarly, being around a long time means that it's stable. Features aren't changing nearly as much. And something that I've noticed a lot of people talking about is reporting. If you want to do analysis across a lot of different data and different tables, this joining relational aspect makes that work really well if you want to compare price per transaction per user across all those different tables. And the more tables you have, the more useful it is when you can join those tables. Huge thing that SQL databases do and NoSQL databases do less is ACID compliance. It's an acronym. Atomicity is basically the idea that a transaction is one transaction even if it's complex. So if you have, example from e-commerce, because we all did that, you're having, say you have two users who are trying, one of them is trying to buy something from someone else. You're going to have to do a whole bunch of different things in that transaction. You're going to have to like take the money from one place, give it to somebody else, update the product in the database. So this atomicity says you either do the whole thing or you do none of it. If it crashes in the middle, if it has an error, none of it happened. It reverts back to its original state. Consistency means that all of the data that's written to the database, it has to be valid, like the foreign IDs have to match. If a product is supposed to have a unique name, it checks and doesn't accept it unless it has a unique name. If you are trying to decrement a product, it won't decrement it past wherever you said its min was. Isolation means that if two people are trying to change the same row in a given table at the same time, it's not going to let them. It's going to lock it up and then wait and see if with the second transaction is ready to go. It's going to see, okay, is this still valid for your transaction? If so, it can do it. If suddenly that row is gone, it won't let the second transaction happen. Or if two people are trying to buy the same product, if there's no more product left, the second person can't buy it. Or if the quantity of the product is lower than the original query thought it was, it can use the updated version instead of both of them trying to intersect on the original version. Durability means that the data that, like when you make the transaction, that's when it happens. It's immediately saved to the database. If you buy an item, if it tells you it was bought, it's updated in the database, the money is in the correct user's pocket. And so this gives, all of these things together give this idea of transactionality, that you can make these complex multi-step actions all at once and be sure that it either happened or it didn't, and it's all updated in the database. Your entire database is correct, and everybody is seeing the same thing. So then, why, this is working so well, why were people trying to reinvent the wheel? Three big ideas are need for speed. In today's world, there's a lot of information coming in. Lots of queries need to be happening, lots of writes, lots of reads. Similarly, the data sets are enormous. And this desire to have more unstructured data and data that can be changeable. So unsurprisingly, those are the benefits that we usually see. Whoop, did that not change on this? There we go. Those are the same benefits that we see in NoSQL databases. I think this is my last slide. No, it's not. I'm not sure what to do here. I have 2 more. So flexibility, you can store non-structured data, you can change the fields, different documents don't have to have the same fields. It's easy to get up and running because JSON and JavaScript work really well together. It's easy to implement with RESTful routing. Additionally, it's really easy to distribute your database across servers, which means you can have a lot of data, or you can also just not have to protect as well against loss. Instead of having one really big, expensive server, you can just have the data repeated. And it's really fast. If you have one document that has a whole bunch of information embedded in it, you can get an enormous amount of information very quickly. Whoops. Problems, though, are when you don't have one document with a bunch of nested data. We've all done a lot of relational data with Mongoose. It's possible. Suddenly you lose a lot of the benefits. The joins are slow, and they can get messy when they get embedded deep inside a document. I know that my Stack Store group had to deal with populating out embedded references. It was not fun. And it's not ACID compliant. The data is not immediately written to the database. This is how, one of the ways they get a lot of speed out of it is not immediately going to the database when they need to save. You store it in local storage for a while, and then they write it eventually. But that means if the server crashes in between, that data was never saved. It didn't exist, or it's not updated. And yeah, that's it. Conclusions, more research sources. You guys can look at it. Questions?